their first two games by a combined 47 points. Golden State held off New Orleans for a 134-123 win. Steph Curry had a team-high 27 points, while Draymond Green had a triple-double. Despite the win, Draymond said, quote, "We're still not a very good team." So, Chris Broussard still with us. Chris, will the Warriors make the playoffs? Yeah. Think about it.
I hope I'm wrong. I hate to say it, but no. The best case scenarios, they hang around the 9th, 10th seed. You know, even if it's 11th, you're within a few games of 8th. And then Clay comes back in March, and maybe you can make a surge. But looking at this team right now, remember Jeff Van Gundy, of what we're essentially watching during the finals, this is when he said that's not even a playoff team out there. This is basically the same. And they had Iguodala at least. But they've got 3 problems. One, they are historically bad defensively. I mean, it's hard to imagine that this defense was part of their calling card. They are terrible. They're last in the league in points allowed, 130 a game. Last in the league in opponents' field goal percentage, 59%. Last in the league in three-point percentage by opponents, 51%. Opponents are hitting 51% of their threes. So defensively, look, KD was a very good defender. Clay was a very good defender. And Iguodala, people just talk about Clay and KD. Iguodala was not only the great defender, but he was big on that team. And here's the other thing about Iguodala. If you look at his history, he told me this himself, and then I went and checked it out, and it lined up. He's a winner. When he was in Philadelphia, Skip, remember, they pushed the big 3 Celtics to Game 7 of the second round. He goes to Denver. All of a sudden, Denver's good. They win 57 games, I think, with George Karl. He goes to Golden State. All of a sudden, they became, like, he is a winner wherever he goes. And so losing him defensively, they're a joke. But then how do you counter bad defense? Well, you outscore him. But who's going to score other than Steph?
Right.
I think D'Angelo Russell, an all-star in the East, not the West. Not the West. Okay. And I think he's going to be up and down. Now, I'll give him, he's averaging 17, but I'll give him a break because he got kicked out of the one game against OKC and he only had 6 points. But I think he's generally going to be a little inconsistent. And Draymond, who probably is a Hall of Famer, or certainly you can make a case for him, but he's a Dennis Rodman, Wes Unseld Hall of Famer. He's not one of those guys that's going to score like he does the other things. So I can't count on him for 16 a night like he gave me last night. His career high is 14 per game for a season. So where am I getting the scoring to combat this atrocious defense? And the third problem is they got a target on their back. Because for 5 years, they've been shimmying, and Draymond been talking trash, and the media adoration of these guys, and maybe even a little like brothers like Shannon, the light skin, whatever, they going at them.
Y'all about to leave. Y'all about to be out of style again.
They going at them. So, but you know what? But I'll finish with this quickly. I don't think, like Clay said, our window is not closed. I think this year, they say they don't make the playoffs. You get Clay back. They make a few moves. I still think that core can eventually compete for championships again. So
I think it's less likely they make the playoffs, Skip. I'm saying Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, Rockets, Jazz, Blazers. Those are locks. I ain't mentioned the Spurs.
I think the Spurs are pretty
okay.
What about only 3-0? But go ahead.
I'm just saying. I believe those are locks. Okay, Mavericks look good.
They do,
and they are talented.
Minnesota. Carl Anthony Towns has been a monster.
Liking it.
So, Skip,
listen, young Zion will be a monster if they can get him rolling.
I'll be waiting for that.
So, Skip, and when you look at it, teams aren't afraid of them. 90% of the teams knew they couldn't beat Golden State on a nightly basis because they could walk in there with that big 3, with that big 4 they had. It's like, okay, let's just hopefully we don't get beat by 2025. Skip, when I look at D'Angelo Russell and Steph Curry, that's more of an odd pairing than James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I'm like, they don't go together. I mean, what are they doing? D'Lo needs the ball. He became an all-star because he had the ball in his hands all the time at the net.
That's true.
Well, in Golden State, that's hot potato. We trying to pass the ball. But pass the ball to who? Who gonna score?
Yeah.
Skip always bring this up. You remember when LeBron James said they lost to the Pelicans right before the All-Star game and said, we top heavy as bleep? where they was top heavy as bleep, and now you see them top heavy pieces leave, and you see the bleep that it left behind. They in trouble.
They were top heavier. Top heavy. Because they're about as top heavy as you could get. I'll take that kind of top heavy.
And that's the thing, Skip. So you lose KD and his 26, 27 points. You lose Clay that's going to give you 20 in lockdown defense, big shots, night in, night out. Iggy, he's not the scorer, but he going to hit timely shots, and he can D up. Sean Livingston, he wasn't the Sean Livingston, the old off the bench, but he can buy. Man, I'm looking at these guys that play. I'm like, who is this?
Who is
when did they get him? When they get Big Puppy? Not Big Dog. They got Big Puppy on it. I'm like, who is Jordan Poole? Where did he come from? Eric Pascal.
I remember in Michigan, just because my daughter went there. That's the only way I know it.
David Lee, Omari. I'm like, hold on, where did guy come from? And you go, they in trouble. He's in trouble. And post Steph. Now, we gonna see, because everybody like Steph, bad Steph, a top 5 player. Okay, top 5, get him going.
So you made a great point to start with about Iggy, because you're right. He is a difference maker. And I know he's a little past his prime now, but man, he changed the 2015 finals when he got inserted into the starting lineup. And he obviously won MVP. You thought Steph deserved maybe a little bit more, but whatever. He still won MVP.
He still played great, right.
Played great on both ends. Because he took LeBron and he scored like crazy, given what you thought he was. And I think he was actually the unsung leader of this locker room. I think when push came to shove, and it was push to shove between KD and Draymond, I think they looked to Iggy to solve it.
He kept it together when it started fraying, and probably would have frayed a lot sooner had Iggy not been in that dress.
Totally agree. So what happened the first 2 nights out was that Golden State walked out like, we're Golden State. And the Clippers and then the Thunder said, no, you're not.
No.
Watch this.
No, you're not.
And the Clippers hung 141 on them, to your point. And then the Thunder at Oklahoma City, what's left of the Thunder, without Russ, they score 120 on them and just wipe them out, just blow them right off the court. Well, that's pretty embarrassing. And I got to pretty much disqualify what happened last night in New Orleans, because New Orleans was down 3 starters, if we include Zion, because Favors didn't play and Drew Holiday was not able to play last night, and E'Twaun Moore didn't play, and I don't know exactly why. He was there but didn't play. So my point is that wasn't nearly full-strength Pelicans that you took advantage of, and I'm with Shannon on this one. It's all about Steph Curry, and I used to be the biggest fan of his, but I've said this on TV several times over the last couple of years. He became the biggest hot dog in the league.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just rubbing it in, shimmy, shaking, dancing.
You remember he shoot the 3? He turned before the ball.
And all his,
everybody's going at him with that.
And all his pregame antics, and it's fun to watch. And I know he's putting on like an Odell kind of show before the game. But after a while, it just gets just starting to wear on my nerves, and I love the guy. You can't keep doing that to people. Well, now he's going to get it right back in his face.
What Pat Beverly told him.
Oh,
y'all look different now with that KD hug.
Like the last 5 years were yours, and not that he had a good comeback to Pat Beverly. He said, you're 31. He said, the next 5 years are ours or mine or whatever. Well, you're 31.
You my age. What you mean the next 5 years yours?
Okay. So, again, I saw a quote from Steve Kerr yesterday. He was asked about, why don't you make Steph James Harden? Why don't you make him the center of your D'Antoni universe and play around him?
Play like that.
And he said, well, we don't play like that. Okay, well, you might have to more than you think, because that's all you got.
Exactly.
And he said, well, they've always surrounded James with shooters, and we don't have those kind of shooters. And finally, he said, Steph is too small to take the beating that James has to take on a nightly basis. And you do have to take a beat. James
stays on the floor.
He gets beat up every night.
I like that point, because Steph, look, there were people, I mean, would they say he's better than LeBron? He's clearly not a LeBron James. Put LeBron James on this Warriors team, they still gonna win a lot of games. They're gonna make the playoffs.
You know what? I would buy that.
Right?
I think they could make the playoffs.
If LeBron was healthy for 82, I think they probably make the. He's just that type of player. I think there are certain types of players that need help, and I'll categorize those as centers who just post up, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Twice, right in the middle of his prime, he missed the playoffs because he needs a guard to get him the ball. Okay. A small point guard, too. I think it's the same way. You need help. And as good as Steph is, and much as he impacts the game, I don't think he can just lift anybody like a LeBron can, or even KD.
Yeah.
I think a KD would lift this team higher, and I think that's what you're going to see this year.
But I don't think Steph's mindset, because you look at small guards, you look at Iverson. Iverson had the mindset, I'm going at you, but that's not Steph. That's not how Steph's wired.
No.
Steph ain't trying to go out there and get 50 a night. Steph's like, okay, he's brought up in a system. We're going to pass the ball. We're going to move the ball around. Hey, I was like, I got Dikembe, I got you.
Yep.
Y'all not scoring. I'm going to score all
That
you
is
guys by
correct.
myself. So, but Skip, he got his work cut out for him.
So, again, I'm a big no on playoffs. Unless you tell me Clay comes back way sooner than you think. And
Right.
the first of the year, Steve Kerr said,
Right.
forget about it. He's not going to come back at all.
Well, Skip,
And if they're
I'm
way
out
out
of
of it,
yeah,
right.
if I'm out of playoffs,
Yeah.
Clay, stay out.
Let him get healthy.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, thank you. Always good to
hope
have
I'm
you
wrong.
here. We're moving back to the Cowboys, whether or not they have a Super Bowl caliber team.